friends, how are you? Welcome to the first video ever on this channel. This is not my first time making a YouTube video because I do have like an entire another channel, but it is still my first time on here and I'm extremely nervous today, so please bear with me. I promise you I'll get better at this. Now, last year I spent about 6 months out of the year reading dramione fan fiction, and so far I've read about more than 300 works, so I feel compelled to talk to you about my experience, my thoughts, my knowledge, and I hope that you can land your next dramione favorites. So let's get on with the video. Here are my top 10 favorite novel-length dramione fan fiction. It's only right for me to start with my number one, my all-time favorite, the favorite of all of my favorite. It is The Dragon Prize by Rizzo. This is a Hogwarts fic set in their 7th year, but I feel like this is more your alternative universe fic, so do not expect any of the kind of typical details or events or anything like that. This starts out with our lovebird waking up in a hotel room together, accidentally married and so bonded. It has more than 225,000 words with 63 chapters. It has adventure, it has action, it has a little bit of a murder mystery, but it also have like some of those moments that are so tenderized that it will melt you down into puddles. So it has everything that you need to keep you on your toes, to keep you reading. This is not like a type of work that you want to put down. I love everything about this fic. The storyline is super unique, super original, and very refreshing to read, and the characters are developed with such like attention to details that you have no complaint at all. And then the writing, when it comes to Rizzo, you don't have to worry about the writing here. So I feel like this is truly a masterpiece and one of the work that is a must read for the fandom. So I do believe that there's a trigger warning in like the earlier chapters of this fic. For me personally, when I read it, I didn't mind, and I also feel like if you skip over that part, the story wouldn't change much for you, but please be aware and inform yourself before you dive into this work. I was lucky enough to have read the entire thing on fanfiction.net before it was taken down by Rizzo because she was migrating over to AO3. I believe that 10 out of the 63 chapters are now available on AO3 for you guys, and the link to every work that I've mentioned here today will be down in the comment below, so please check it out. Next we have 13 by Nelfer. If I can give ties, actually both 13 and The Dragon Prize will probably take in my number one spot. This fic has around 78,000 words with 23 chapters, and the focus is on memory allocations and muggle living. So you will see glimpses of Mr. Draco Malfoy navigating through the Muggle War because his memory charm to not remember that he's a wizard. The Draco in here is my favorite Draco of all time. He is so snarky, he is so smart, but on the other side super attentive and determined as well. Hermione in here is also a badass bitch. She knows what she wants and she'll go ahead and take it as well. And do you know that feeling when you are like reading a piece of work that it hurts you so bad you feel like your heart is broken in half? I have had that moment many times with 13 and it is also one of the fic that made me laugh out loud while reading it, like right on the first chapter. It's powerful, it did both of that to me. I love the way that Nelfer built the storyline and also the character, but also more importantly is the inclusion of like more important topics like how environment impact a person growth and how they perceive the world can also be changed based on like the circumstances of their upbringing. This is one of the fic that you will truly not forget. Next we have Remain Nameless by Hatred 19. Hatred 19 deserves all the hype, all the love, and all the praises on Remain Nameless. It is truly a masterpiece. It is a 300,000 work, slow burn, set 9 years after the final battle. So in this one, Draco and Hermione is a little bit older and probably in their late 20s. It is packed with everything that you need. It is truly enemies to friends to lover and coffee dates and unexpected encounter. Has a lot of healing, second chances, forming new friendships, a lot of shrugging off your old prejudice to, you know, head into like a better place. The high in this fic is so good and the low will hurt you so bad, and the lemon in here is citrusy, it is juicy, okay? This is one of the work that will keep you fed and satisfied. Since this is like a longer piece of work, it has like more than 300,000 words. I have seen opinions online that say it feels a little bit draggy at times, but for me personally, someone who hates reading slow burn, I don't think any of those 300,000 words are redundant at all. I devour it like a hungry child, and there are some moments or scenes in Remain Nameless that is like forever engraved in my brain. I memorize them, I love them, I reread it many times. So please go ahead and read Remain Nameless if you haven't. And after you are done reading, please go to Tumblr and drop Hatred 19 some love because she truly deserves it after she dropped this masterpiece for us free of charge. Next, we have Statics by Galfoy, and this could be a little bit biased because Galfoy is my favorite dramione author of all time, but Static is still a great piece of work, so I will put it on my number 4 spot. It is a wartime alternative universe where Hermione is a healer and she is asked to open the door of her house to the newly rescued Death Eater, Lucius and Draco Malfoy, father and son both. So how they navigate through their sticky share living situation is how we get to see the story. This is classic enemy to lover trope with a lot of angsty moments, a lot of fluffy moments, and a little bit of a mystery to keep you on your toes. I really love the development of like the moments between Draco and Hermione in this. It's very soft, very tenderized, and I love everything about it. But what I do love about Statics and Galfoy work in general is how she built the storyline, the character. They are executed in such a unique and refreshed way. It will keep you reading. And the character, Galfoy Draco especially, is developed in a very realistic and believable way. So that's why I love all of the Galfoy work and Statics. So if you want like an alternative wartime fic, please go ahead and read Statics. If you want me to do like a recommendation based on author, the ones that I especially love, please leave a comment down below and then I'll get it done. Next, we have The Big Bad Boy Manacle by Stanlin Yu. If you haven't heard about this, which I doubt, it is a wartime alternative universe fic where Mr. Harry Potter and company has lost the final battle and now Voldemort is ruling the world and Hermione is a prisoner. This is probably, in my opinion, the most famous, the highest rated, and the most read dramione piece of work out there. This is the king and queen of the enemy to lover trope, and it's packed with like heart and comfort moments. It is truly a masterpiece, and it is beyond me to cast an opinion or a review on it. I wasn't the same person I was before I read this. I was unalive for a little bit of time after I finished this. And to revive myself, I read it again. But I know that this work is packed with heavy trigger warnings, and unlike the Dragon Prize where you can skip over that part, I feel like the trigger warning part in this work is a running theme. It is the spine, the foundation of the work. So please inform yourself and be very aware and mindful of that before you go in. If you haven't read it and you want to, you plan to, please go ahead and skip over to the next part because I will be discussing some of the points that I did not like about Manacle and it may contain spoiler to you. So the first thing is that I feel like this is a very plot-driven story and I'm an extremely impatient reader. So I want to know what the fuck happened next, you know? So it feels a little bit draggy at some point for me, especially in like the earlier flashback chapters. And secondly, I find it a little bit frustrating to read Hermione sometimes. Like, girl, I understand, but like if you keep choosing the people who wouldn't give two fucks about you over someone who would literally burn the world down to keep you safe. But other than that, I feel like Manacle is something that you read and then you will not be able to read anything else for a long time because it will occupy your mind and it is something that you will never forget. It will live in your brain and your heart forever. Next, we have Simply Irresistible by Bookworm 1993 to counter the heaviness of Manacle. This is a post-war fic and typically recommend under the fake dating trope, but to me it feels a lot more than just fake dating. It is what I call a classic rom-com where Draco offers Hermione a entire makeover to revenge her ex-boyfriend. This is a very light-hearted story, but it's not one-dimensional at all. The story is very well thought out, and the characters. We have like an entire cast of supporting characters that I love. Everyone is popping with flavor and characteristic. It's not just, you know, put in there for the sake of we have a characters. Some of them are even original characters from the author herself or himself. I love the storyline of Simply Irresistible, but more than that, I love how the author executed. I love the inclusion of flashbacks so that we can see like glimpses of how their relationship was developed, but also flashback kind of break up the storyline and make it a non-linear story so that it's a lot more refreshing, a lot more unique. I would recommend this week for when you feel a little bit moody and you want some cheering up. I promise you this week will make you so happy and it will definitely be a mood booster to you. Next, we have Sweetly Broken by Lady Kens 347. This is another post-war fic but a lot heavier than the previous one with a lot more to unpack. This is my favorite Draco's point of view story of all time. So we follow Draco as he navigates through the post-war event, how he deals with his PTSD and his coping mechanisms. And from the synopsis alone, you know that those coping mechanisms aren't good ones. So there are alcohol abuse, there are drug abuse, there are, you know, all those stuff. And we follow Draco through his journey to happiness. I say happiness because there's a happily ever after tag in the synopsis by the author, and I will only discuss the ending with you guys if it is already provided by the author. So I would recommend this fic for when you would love to read something that is well written on the more realistic side of healing and how these young adults deal with such a tremendous event in their life as the war. I only started reading this work because of the happily ever after tag by the author. I'm really scared of reading sad ending. The least I can do is like some open and hopeful endings, you know. So if it wasn't a happy ending, I'm sure I wouldn't read this story. But this is one of the ending that when you finish, it's just like truly like a wholesome moment. It's like you're so proud and so happy for them that you could cry on the spot. And there's a line that I copied down into my notebook. I rarely ever copy down fan fiction line, but here's one. I'll read it to you. Cries well in my chest. I did that. I put that look on her face. I will leave it as that. And if you have read it, or if you plan to read it in the future after you finish, please go ahead and drop me a comment down below if you know what I'm talking about. After you read Sweetly Broken and you need some fluffiness to counteract the heaviness in the previous story, I would recommend you read Apple Pies and Other Men by Tweet a Peach. This is also a post-war story about healing and second chances, but everything about this is just super light, it's delicious, it's super sweet. I really love how To Eat a Peach write moments and interactions between Draco and Hermione and how they express their feeling and their love toward each other. And this is one of the things that I pay a lot of attention to when I read dramione fanfiction. And the characters, from wizards and witches to magical being alive, they are so also well developed, so popping with like characteristic. Everyone is like snarky, has a little bit of jokes in them. It makes the reading experience super fun. I reread it many times because it makes me feel like I'm wrapped in a blanket on like a winter morning, you know. It feels so great that you don't want to leave it. Next, we are back to Hogwarts with a wartime alternative universe story. It is Trust and Line by Max Boyd. Please let me know if I have butchered your name. I think I did. Now this is set in their 6th year and beyond, so we follow them through their 6th year and the war afterward. The story starts when Hermione unexpectedly saved Draco's life in like a very tricky situation, and so their relationships or their friendship kind of develops from there. I would recommend this fic for when you would love to read like a wartime canon divergent 6-year fic. I think this is the best 6-year story out there. It's just very well written. The storyline is super well thought out and the characters in here are very well developed, and we have a lot of original characters as well, so hats off to the author for that. Attention to detail in this fic is just beyond me. This fic is so beautifully written that I have to copy many lines down into my notebook, and I'll read you 2 lines that wrecked me. He wanted her to be a legitimate in that moment so she could read his mind and know all the things that he didn't have the courage to say, that he was so completely in love with her that every part of him hurt, that despite everything they were fucking perfect for each other. Her, a girl seeking the stars, and him, a celestial body caught in her orbit. Bruh! Another line. When she heard the door close behind her, she collapsed on the bed, wondering if she could create a Horcrux in that moment as she felt her soul split in half. You will not regret this. And lastly, we have Isolation by Bex Chan. This is another wartime alternative universe fic where Hermione do not go on the Horcrux hunting trip, but she stayed at Hogwarts, and Draco was under Snape protection after the events of the Astronomy Tower. He was brought back to Hogwarts and forced to share a living quarter with Hermione for his own protection. And like I say, how they navigate through their sticky share living situation is how we get to see the story. This is, in my opinion, one of the classics of the dramione fandom, and if you are a fan, I feel like you should read it at least once. Hogwarts, schoolyard, enemy to lover trope, packed with everything that you need in a fan fiction. It is the first dramione fan fiction that I have read, so no matter how many great stories that I have read, I think Isolation will always end up on my top favorite list. It is not one of the fic that make me go crazy and reread it many times, but I love it all the same. And because it is the first one that I have read, it has always have a place in my heart, and it will always end up on my favorite list of all time. I know that there are like some mixed opinions about the characterization of Draco in this one, but for me it is completely perfectly done, given the storyline and the timeline of when this fic is set in. Please go ahead and read it and let me know what you think. So those are all of my favorite novel-length dramione fanfiction. Please let me know if you would like to see more of those videos. I plan to do some shorter stories, some one-shots favorite as well. So if you like this video, please consider subscribing so you do not miss my future videos. And I hope that I have helped you land a new favorite dramione reads. I'll see you in the next video.